waste, corruption, and failure. One example, called Utopia, promised to provide internet service in 16 cities within a few years. But over 20 years and hundreds of millions of dollars later, a better name would be dystopia. They say it's almost complete. We say stop wasting our money. Go to nogovinternet.com and tell lawmakers enough is enough. Local tax dollars are precious, and public employees have plenty to do already. Don't let politicians mess with our internet. Paid for by nogovinternet.com, a project of Domestic Policy Caucus.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
A good drive on the Valley freeways, the final cleanup of an accident that's been moved out of the lanes of travel at Washington Boulevard and 2nd Street in Ogden. The perfect present doesn't always come wrapped under the tree. Treat your loved ones with an unforgettable afternoon or evening of music and laughter with the Utah Symphony. Find your tickets at utahsymphony.org/holiday. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, a low-pressure system will help avoid inversions building up over the next few days. We're not expecting rain or snow. Our weather should be dry through the next week with highs in the 40s. And right now, 43 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, this is the last week that Congress will be in session before the holiday break in the new year, but there are still many major issues that need to be worked out before lawmakers can head for the airport and back home to the district. Many of those issues are big international issues, including the funding for Ukraine and for Israel. And there's also this little issue of border security right here in the United States. The question is, can Congress get all of these things done over the next 4 days? I actually think it's possible. And so we're going to get past the headlines and what the politics of it is saying so we can get to the principles that can actually get done. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, as Congress barrels its way towards the end of its year, which will be this week, normally we're in the middle of a shutdown showdown crisis, but thanks to the new Speaker of the House and the Democrats in the Senate, we actually don't have a shutdown showdown to play with this year, and I am grateful for that. It's one last thing. I always say this is the best time of year to be a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., because you can get a lot of things tucked into those big omnibus spending packages. But this year there won't be one. We're going to save that until January the 18th. So we'll do that at the first of the year. We'll look at how those spending bills play out. And if Congress can actually do their job through regular order, that will be the test. But over the next 4 days, there are some big issues that need to be addressed. And so for the next half hour on this show, we're going to dig into Congress's agenda for its last week before the new year, starting with the funding for Ukraine. We'll look at President Zelensky, who's going to be coming to town, and what that message is and what it is that Ukraine actually needs the most, rolling through these winter months and a slog of a battle against Vladimir Putin and Russia. Also, there'll all be things coming up this week as Congress will vote on FISA reforms and the National Defense Authorization Act. Will break those down as well. But let's start with some of the issues around aid to Ukraine. Yesterday, Utah Senator Mitt Romney appeared on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, talked about the state of negotiations on aid to Ukraine and this idea of combining it with border security. And this was an important component. I thought that the senator hit this well when he said that there needs to be both sides willing to negotiate and not just hunker down in the political position. Here's how he described it.
It's not just Republicans that are holding a hard line. It's Democrats who are holding a hard line. Either side can move and can get this done. And here's the position of my side and our side. And that is, we have gone from 1 to 2,000 encounters, illegal encounters at the border a day, under the three prior presidents, under Bush, Obama, and Trump. Now we're seeing 10 to 12,000 a day. We want to solve that, to secure the border. I just saw the President of the United States say that we've got to secure the border. Yeah. He's right. So any effort that doesn't do that will be rejected by Republicans. We want to get it back to the level that existed under the three prior presidents.
So I thought that was really crucial framing by Senator Mitt Romney that, look, this is not just about Republicans saying has to be border security or nothing. This is also about Democrats saying no border issues or resolutions at all or nothing. Both parties have taken that hardline positioning. I also thought it was important that the senator clarified that said, look, we're having 10,000 encounters with those illegally entering the country a day. Also thought it was interesting that Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania, a Democrat, said that we are basically experiencing the city of Pittsburgh coming into the United States every month. So think about that. A city the size of Pittsburgh is coming into the United States every month. And so clearly there are some things that need to be done, and it needs to be done in a bipartisan way, and people need to come together. Now, whether that's part of Ukraine funding or not, I like keeping all of those things separate, but if they need to come together so they can negotiate, fine. But this is one, there's no excuse for not getting this done. There has been some good bipartisan work beyond the headlines. Again, the headlines are always Republicans are hunkered down here, Democrats are hunkered down there, and there's no space in between. But there are some good faith negotiations going on, including Senator Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, and Senator Langford, a Republican from Oklahoma, who've been working on the border issue and trying to get to a space that everybody can agree on. I think that's possible. I think that's doable. I think they should do it and give everybody a little holiday cheer rolling as they end out the week this week. Now, Senator Romney was also asked by Kristen Welker on Meet the Press yesterday if more funding to Ukraine represented a blank check. That's sort of the easy bumper sticker political slogan that you're hearing from both Democrats and Republicans, by the way. And he explained the importance of the funding, and he also connected it back to the border.
Well, we're not going to write a blank check. We're going to evaluate exactly how the money is spent. What we're going to do is provide Ukraine with the weapons they need to defend themselves against a brutal invasion by Putin, who is a thug and a murderer. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I think they realize, I think Putin and Xi recognize that democracy is messy, that our system is not authoritarian. We don't have a king. We don't have a dictator. They're dictators. They like to make a big deal out of the process that we go through. But you know what? It has worked for America in the past. It'll work in the future. We'll get through this. And ultimately, don't forget, the president was the one that put the border and the border security issue as part of this package. This is not a Republican issue.
So an important clarification there, that it was President Biden who connected these two issues of border security and aid to Ukraine. So that wasn't a Republican strategy, and it wasn't anyone else. It was the president who said, hey, let's put these things together in a package. And so that's why we are where we are, because the president put it that way. So now we just need to deal with it. I thought it was also crucial what Senator Romney shared in terms of why this matters now. And that it is about getting Ukraine the weapons they need to defend themselves. And there's actually a lot of upside to that. We'll talk about that coming up at 1:20 as we dig into what they do need and why that actually might be good, because these are things that will be produced here in the United States and sent to Ukraine. So it gets past the headline of the blank check theory and gets down to what it actually means. And I want to conclude here with Senator Romney addressing why the funding to Ukraine is so critical now, especially as it relates to Vladimir Putin.
It's very much in America's interest to see Ukraine successful and to provide the weapons that Ukraine needs to defend itself. Anything other than that would be a huge dereliction of our responsibility, I believe, to the world of democracy, but also to our own national interest. Because if Putin thinks he can invade his neighbor with impunity and that we're just going to step back, that we're going to say, oh, we're tired, we're not going to keep on helping, then guess what? He's not going to stop. And he's going to go into a NATO nation that's going to draw NATO and our troops into war with Russia. This is in America's interest to make sure that Ukraine puts up a great fight.
So very important that all of that takes place as we come down this final week of the Congress before they head off for the holiday break. And I do think it is important to recognize one of the important components to this. And I actually like the way Senator Romney framed this, that democracy is messy. It is messy. And both Vladimir Putin and President Xi of China love the fact that democracy is messy because they're dictators and they can do things very cleanly, very easily. And point out that their way is the better way. But I think it is vital that we have this kind of conversation, that Congress comes together, that we get past just the bumper sticker slogan and the headlines and what plays well on social media, and actually have Congress have a serious conversation about the border, about Ukraine, and about what's going on in Israel as well. And so all of those things need to be done. And we're going to stay with the conversation on all of this. When we come back, Mark Toth is going to join us to talk about the specifics in terms of militarily, what is it that Ukraine needs to not just survive and slog their way through the winter, but what do they actually need to win? And why is that actually a good thing for the United States? And then coming up at 1:35, we'll actually deal with the last component that Congress has to deal with in this session, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, and dealing with the FISA, which is the ability of the American government to tap into those foreign nationals who are having conversations. Sometimes a lot of Americans get swept up in that kind of surveillance, and why we need to take a close look to make sure we're not violating civil liberties there. So all of that coming up. Stick around. Much more on Inside Sources.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. It is the beginning of a season that should rekindle hope.
Casualties in this war, hard to comprehend.
Homelessness in Utah has been steadily increasing.
News is more than information. Spend your day with people who do more than report, who enjoy and celebrate Utah.
Did I just almost call her Dr. Jennifer Aniston?
I love stories like that.
The neighborhood school that looked like a spaceship.
They're not beautiful structures.
We promise to remember what's really important. You. A holiday promise from KSL News Radio.
Oh, I think we're lost again.
Wait, what does that sign over there say?
Caution wildlife crossing?
No, next to it.
If you're 60 or older, you may be at increased risk of serious consequences from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, compared to adults younger than 60. Ouch, I didn't know that.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. RSV vaccines, including Pfizer's, are available. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Les Olson IT is now a Rico Graphic Arts and Production Systems dealer. Rico chose Les Olson because of our reputation for superior service and national recognition. Les Olson IT chose Rico Graphics because they're the best value compared to other commercial-grade printers. Rico excels in high volume, high speed, high resolution, and offers an exciting fifth color. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Guys, does she need a little escape this year? Introducing Cozy Escape Pajamas from Pajamagram, America's PJ experts. These PJs are just the getaway she needs. So take that time off and plan a holiday staycation. Cozy Escape Pajamas make the perfect gift for your special someone who deserves a little rest and relaxation. Treat her to luxurious next-level Cozy signature soft fleece. They're as light as a dream and will keep her oh so warm, like snuggling in her favorite blanket. She'll love to cuddle in Cozy Escape PJs on those extra chilly nights. With Pajamagram, you can even add gift packaging. Order now for guaranteed delivery by Christmas. She's missed out on a lot of things she loves this year, so this Christmas, give her the escape she deserves. These new PJs are selling fast, so order today. Go to pajamagram.com right now. That's pajamagram.com to order Cozy Escape Pajamas. Pajamagram.com.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL. News Radio 1027.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
This year, Staples wants everyone to have a happy holiday deal. That's right, Holla Deals. Staples Holla Deals are amazing savings on hot holiday tech. Great prices on laptops, game systems, earbuds, and more. And now at Staples, you can save up to $350 on select PCs. During Staples Holla Deals, it's not about the fa-la-la. It's about saving moo-la-la. Save up to $350 on select PCs today at Staples. Ends 12/23. In store only. See associate for details.
Imagine how inconvenient your life would be without power. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, and no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have the power when you need it most. Generac generators automatically provide backup after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Schedule a free quote today with Genco Generators, your premier Generac service dealer in Utah. Call 801-295-0872 or online at gencogenerators.net. Positive mortgage news? Interest rates have dropped and trending down from 2023 yearly highs. Click loansbyrick.com. Purchase or cashback loans. Visit loansbyrick.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah's interim commissioner of higher education says there's a difference between speech and action when it comes to regulating what demonstrators say on campus. Second, cheatgrass got its name because it's no good for animals to eat. The Utah Division of Wildlife Resources is trying to get rid of it on public land. And third, Ukraine's president is in Washington today, asking the United States for more support in his country's war with Russia. Right now, 43 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Well, if you're just joining us, we are staying with the question and the conversation. Of course, there's a lot that Congress needs to get done over the next few days before they head off for the holidays. And one of the big debates, of course, is surrounding aid to Ukraine. That will become even more intense tomorrow when President Zelensky of Ukraine visits Washington, D.C. He'll be meeting with President Biden. He will also meet with the entirety of the United States Senate, along with other meetings, including meeting with Speaker Mike Johnson. So as the fight continues in terms of what that aid should look like, Ukraine is truly at a crucial and critical moment. And the question is, what will the cost be if the aid package to Ukraine doesn't pass now versus passing in January, which some are hinting at? How has this issue swung from a matter of national security to a partisan political talking point? Of course, we've talked about already the idea of throwing the immigration and border security into it, which I think just really muddies everything. So we need to look at it from the context of what needs to be done, why does it matter? And as always, we're really grateful to have on the program today Mark Toth, an economist and entrepreneur, former board member at World Trade Center St. Louis. Great piece in The Hill with his tag team partner, Jonathan Sweet, talking about Ukraine's window of opportunity closing. And Mark, welcome back to the program. And as we look at this week, obviously this is a crucial trip for President Zelensky. But help us understand the case that President Zelensky is going to be making in terms of why now and what this aid looks like. We're not buying into the bumper stickers of blank checks and all the political rhetoric stuff. What do we really need to get to in this conversation?
Boyd, great to be back on Inside Sources. Zelensky really needs to hammer the message home that currently, as USAID is constructed, both in terms of the dollar amount, which is not as great as some people think. Most of that is equipment that's already been written off our books. So there's a dollar amount assessed to it, but it's not real dollars headed to Ukraine. But he basically needs to hammer home that Ukraine is on a road to nowhere. And as a consequence, so too is U.S. national security. We've got to change this equation of giving just enough aid to defend itself. And he's going to have a heavy lift there because as I look over the press release from Jean-Pierre, Karine Jean-Pierre, she's still using these catchphrases in terms of helping Ukraine defend themselves. Defending themselves will not bring this war to an end. Ukraine must win. Defending is the Biden administration seemingly believes that that's just a never-ending option, but it's not. That's only going to lead to ultimately Putin winning and Ukraine losing.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest message, if you will.
Yeah, no question about that. And that stalemate and that slow slog is just what Vladimir Putin, I believe, is counting on. And the fact that we're having these little quibbles about what it is and what it isn't, and what's a blank check and what's not. Give us some perspective in terms of the you mentioned the weaponry, and that I think we're often thinking, oh, we're just sending all these large amounts of cash over to Ukraine, and that somehow it's just going off into the wind somewhere. But a lot of this is stuff that's being spent right here at home, both to have the munitions, the things to send over to Ukraine, but it also helps us replenish our supply that we have been using in this.
Right. Yeah. The equipment so far to date has been basically stuff off the shelf. We're clearing out the back room. They're not getting the best of the best. For instance, even if you look at the F-16s that the Netherlands took the lead on getting them, those are A and Bs as opposed to the latest C and D variants. We're not giving them what General Ben Hodges would say is the capacity to fight a combined arms offensive. We're only giving part of that, but they need the air cover. They need SEAD. They need DAT. They need to be able to take that fight even deeper using ATACMS, using the Taurus missile that Germany still continues to hesitate to give them, which could easily take out, for instance, the Kerch Bridge, severing Crimea from the Russian mainland. Things that, frankly, are making John and I at this point sound like broken records. But these are all critical weapon systems that they don't have. They need a lot more artillery shells. So they're starting to run into problems where we're not simply getting enough artillery shells onto the battlefield. And so the advantages that they have, that window of opportunity that they had to take advantage of, is slowly being closed for the two reasons. They just don't have the proper weapon systems in place yet. They also don't have enough of the artillery shells to keep pushing those forward. Their forces forward.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important thing to look at in terms of how they do that. We've talked a lot about the fact that this has been a yard by yard kind of clearance system, and that without the weapons that get that little deeper strike and soften things up, there really isn't a chance to change the dynamic of it. And we know in particular that Putin will weaponize winter, as he did last year, targeting that critical infrastructure for the Ukrainian people. And also the fact that Vladimir Putin is very content to have this be a long, slow slog, because he believes that that's part of his path to victory.
Boyd, you need to get yourself to the White House, because you're absolutely right. What Putin is doing is playing for time here. And while he continues, I know a lot of people are thinking, maybe Ukraine is losing this war. They're not losing it yet. They are making incremental advances, but Putin gets a vote. And he voted on October 7th, or 2 days after that, on October 9th. He voted to take advantage of the attacks in Israel to launch his counteroffensive into the Avdiivka area in the Donbass. And he's using that to be kind of like a pit bull, to just keep biting at Ukraine. And so for him, what he is winning, though, is the narrative. And we've seen that in so many ways. We see it in Viktor Orban in Hungary saying, hey, this has got to stop. The EU can't keep supporting Ukraine. We saw it in the election of Robert Fico in Slovakia, who also wants to end Ukraine. And while we haven't seen the effect change in terms of policy, we've also seen that with Geert Wilders' win in the Netherlands, where he's anti-Ukraine aid. And frankly, we've seen it in our own Congress, where I'm not going to get political here because John and I avoid that, but we don't have our act together. We've allowed presidential year elections to cloud the national security issue that's at hand, and it's going to be to our nation's great detriment. And I don't think enough Americans fully appreciate that yet, because none of our politicians are making that bigger, broader case yet.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The bigger, broader case, I think, is the real key to all of this. And just in our last minute here, Mark, give us a quick sense. Many people have said, and I think you've been on this path as well, that if Ukraine could get another decisive victory or a little bit of momentum, it could just reawaken members of Congress to say, okay, actually, this is the right path. Everyone loves a winner. And what is it that President Zelensky needs to do to get that win, either in his visit tomorrow or in the days ahead, that might reignite and that imagination of what it means for freedom around the world?
It's a terrific question. What they need is their Lexington and Concord moment. And it's not a fair ask of them. They shouldn't have to be doing this. The U.S. should be seeing that on their own. Where our fears of escalation, Boyd, of giving Ukraine what they need to win instead of defend themselves. We're seeing that spread kinetically now with the Houthis, with what they're doing in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. We've seen it already today with what Hamas has been doing. So really what Ukraine needs to do is strike that critical victory. But the reality is, I don't know that they've got enough firepower at this point to do that in such a decisive way. It really is going to take bold leadership coming out of Washington, bipartisan leadership, calling on both parties here to say, look, enough is enough in terms of defending. Let's give Ukraine what it needs to win and to expel Putin from every inch of Ukrainian territory, including Crimea.
Fantastic. Mark Toth, always appreciate your perspective. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
That's great perspective, and we're going to stay with this conversation as well. We're going to round things out with some of the last things that Congress needs to do before they head off for the holidays, including the National Defense Authorization Act, which has to get done. We'll talk about that coming up next. Stay with us. More Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour: Oak Leaf Elementary School in Harriman set a goal to help a neighboring school in need by collecting 500 boxes of cereal. Students and their families wound up collecting 521 boxes, the same number of students the school has enrolled. Sixth grade volunteer Bailey Vigil was there helping to load the cereal onto wooden pallets for delivery.
It makes me feel happy and actually really grateful because we're making like a change in the world.
The school receiving the shipment wanted to remain anonymous, but it's in the Jordan School District. The CDC is warning travelers about a deadly disease that's spread by ticks. It's Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and it's showing up in people who have recently traveled to Baja California in Mexico. 3 out of 5 patients have died after contracting the disease. 4 out of 5 patients were children. Children are 5 times more likely to die from Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: a threatened strike by UPS drivers has been averted in Kentucky. ABC's Derek Dennis reports.
Plans for a UPS worker walkout at a hub in Louisville, Kentucky would have had a crippling effect nationwide. Teamsters union members were prepared to hit the picket line after 35 unionized UPS workers were laid off last week, they say in apparent retaliation for voting to unionize in October. But it turns out the threat of a strike forced an about-face. UPS reinstated the 35 workers Monday with full back pay, averting the strike. Union leaders say they came to an amicable resolution after a sit-down with UPS executives. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
And coming up, our KSL weather looks like we're going to avoid building an inversion over the Wasatch Front. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
It's not too late to save big on your holiday carpet cleanings. The Zero Res Holiday Sale ends Tuesday. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and pay just $25 per room. That's right, the $25 deal is back just in time for your holiday cleaning. Zero Res is the only no residue carpet cleaner in the area. With their ZR water, there's no soaps, no shampoos, and with no residue left behind, your carpets stay cleaner longer. Plus, with a no residue cleaning, you don't have to worry about any nasty chemicals left behind either. For carpets, ducts, tile, furniture, and more, Zero Res is the right way to clean. And if you've been waiting to get cleaned up for the holidays, this is the sale you've been waiting for. $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Sale ends Tuesday. Must schedule Monday or Tuesday, and you must clean before the new year. You don't have to clean today, but you do have to get on the schedule. Call Zero Res right now or jump online to schedule. $25 per room. Minimums apply. Zero Res, from Nephi to Ogden and everywhere in between. Online at ZeroRes.com.
If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Even though that's an old adage, it's still very true today. And it's especially true of your old 401k. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, asking you to get that old 401k in sight and out of the company you no longer work for. But don't roll it into your new 401k. That could be one of the worst things you do. Of course that's easy. But when has the easiest way ever been the best way? Instead, call Trajan Wealth and learn about all of your options, including a way to earn an upfront bonus of up to 25% for your future income just for rolling it over. That's right. You could earn up to a 25% free 5% bonus for your retirement income just for rolling that 401k over with Trajan Wealth. Don't roll that 401k into your new company plan. Don't do it without calling Trajan Wealth first. Call 801-899-7600 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Hello, car donation hotline.
Hi, I'd like to donate a car to the Utah Kidney Foundation. Are you in Utah?
Awesome. Let's get some info and we'll send you a tow truck.
But I want my car donation to benefit my neighbor in Farmington who needs a transplant. Are you in Utah?
That's a no. I'm in SoCal, but you're still donating to charity.
What charity?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I want my donation to stay in Utah.
Righteous dude. You need to call Tow Cars in Utah. Locals only, am I right?
Oh, yeah. I remember tow cars with a K like kidney. It's on a billboard somewhere. TOWKARS.org. That's it. Towcars.org.
If you'd like your vehicle donation to help Utah kidney patients in the Beehive State, please use the web address on their billboard, towcars.org, to donate your old car or truck. That's TOWK like kidney, ARS. Towcars.org.
This week, the movie show broadcasts live from Hale Center Theater. Give the gift of memories all year long with 2024 season tickets and gift cards. Go to hct.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are looking at a quiet commute. Valley Freeway traffic in great shape, no problems there or on the main secondaries. Renew your smile with Grandpa's Dental. Grandpa's Dental offers cosmetic and routine dentistry. Visit grandpasdental.com for a location near you. That's grandpasdental.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, a low-pressure system will help avoid inversions over the next few days. Even though we're not expecting rain or snow, our weather should be dry through the next week with highs in the 40s. And right now, 43 degrees and mostly sunny. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson. On Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. If you're just joining us, we've been spending the last 35 minutes talking about all the things that are on Congress's plate during these next 4 days before they all want to head off for the holidays. And, of course, there are some things around funding for Ukraine, aid to Israel, border security, and then there's these other little issues like the National Defense Authorization Act, which comes up and will expire at the end of the year. That's a absolute must, has to get done. And one of the items that always comes up as part of the NDAA, and the National Defense Authorization Act, is this idea of the FISA warrant, which deals with Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And we want to get into this component because this is always a little controversial. There's a lot of components to this, and this is one of those that's important for you all to understand because you may think, well, why am I worried about that? Well, we're going to tell you why you should be worried about that and how it impacts you, what Congress is doing about it. And to help us break all of that down, James Chernowski, Senior Tech and Innovation Policy Analyst at Americans for Prosperity, joins us on the line. And James, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Boyd.
So let's dive into this. We know that in the NDAA, it includes a provision to extend Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, we often call that. For our listeners, just break that down in terms of what is the FISA Act? What is it that it actually does, and why should we care?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, broadly speaking, is the legislation that empowers the intelligence community to conduct a lot of its surveillance activities, unsurprisingly. But Section 702 explicitly empowers the intelligence community to go and gather the communications of non-U.S. persons for the sake of their investigations. Now, the problem with that is that more often than not, in the process of doing so, they're also collecting Americans' data and then searching that data, which in our view is a violation of their Fourth Amendment rights because they have not otherwise committed a crime. There's nothing to suggest that they've done anything illegal, and they're searching their communications anyway. So it's highly alarming. And including it in the National Defense Authorization Act, even as a short-term extension, it actually would go and make it become an extension all the way out until April of 2025. Because what you would expect to see happen here is the administration would go and immediately petition the FISA court to get another certification for another year and push this out past the election. And that's simply unacceptable.
Yeah, and so let's look at that in terms of this communication. So again, this is the ability of the government to do surveillance on foreign folks that they think may be doing bad things or things that may be putting our national security at risk. And in that process, a whole lot of Americans who have different communications going on, their data gets swept up in there. Normally, if someone was saying, okay, Boyd Matheson may be someone we need to look at, they would have to go to court to get something from the court, an approval, so that they could actually wiretap or do surveillance on me. And so this is a way around that, but it should be just for foreign folks. But a lot of Americans are getting swept up in that.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Boyd. Just last year, the FBI still conducted over 200,000 warrantless searches of Americans' data, right? So this is not like it's some minor, off kind of, problem here where it's minute by comparison. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that are having their data being surveilled here without a warrant, and that's just simply unacceptable. And it being included in the NDAA as a short-term reauthorization is bad, but the good news is that Congress is trying to go and get some reforms done, and this week, with the limited time that they have left, they're going to be considering two different proposals tomorrow. One from the House Intelligence Committee, which is the FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act, which is just reform in name only, in my opinion. And then there's the House Judiciary Bill, which is the Protecting Liberties and Ending Warrantless Surveillance Act, PLUSA. And that actually has a lot of substantive reforms in it that would go and tackle some of the very issues that have been plaguing this program for years, right? And Senator Mike Lee has been a champion of this kind of issue for many years now. Representative Jim Jordan is leading the charge here in the House, along with Representative Andy Biggs, because they are just not okay with seeing Americans' rights being violated by the federal government in pursuit of this national security mission. I think everybody agrees that national security matters, but when it comes to Americans, you have to respect the Constitution, and the intelligence community has just simply proven incapable of self-policing themselves and even showing a modicum of restraint in this arena.
Yeah, so let's look at it. This is such an interesting thing that doesn't happen very often in Congress, particularly in the House, where you literally have two bills around reform. As you said, one has way more reform than the other, but it's sort of this, they usually call it the queen bee approach, where two bills will go to the floor and whichever one gets more support will be the one that gets advanced and sent over to the Senate side to see if it can get passed all the way through. So as you see that part of the debate playing out over the next 24 hours here, what do you expect to see as both of those bills? Again, a unique thing. You've got competing committees in the House that are sending similar but quite different bills to the floor.
Yeah, and I think that that's an important point to raise, is that there is actually a very stark difference between the two different proposals that are going in front of the House tomorrow, right? On the one end, with the House Intels, it's expanding FISA surveillance programs, actually, which is, I think, very bad when we're looking at the litany of abuses, from spying on January 6th protesters to spying on Black Lives Matter protesters to spying on sitting members of Congress. The abuses and the documented evidence of this is quite significant. So the House Intel bill would go and expand the reauthorization of FISA all the way out until 2031. And it has no meaningful changes to the program whatsoever, more or less codifies the internal best practices that the FBI recently implemented, which is just not far enough when we're talking about where the American people are at on this. And we talk to people all across the country every single time. So that's why the House Judiciary Bill has a warrant requirement. It has accountability measures for FBI agents that go and repeatedly and blatantly, violate the law here. Which has been a bigger problem, too, is that people have violated this law. And the worst punishment that I think I've ever seen about any of that is, somebody being put on probation, which is just wild to me. This undermines people's trust in the very institutions that are responsible for protecting them, Boyd.
Yeah.
It's just clearly unacceptable. It's untenable.
Yeah, and I think that is the key, and that is the thing for all of us to think about is if someone is going to do surveillance on a United States citizen, there's got to be a warrant, there's got to be a process, because as you said, James, you have to have trust in the process and trust in the institutions, and we got to get that part straight. James Chernowski, Senior Tech and Innovation Policy Analyst at Americans for Prosperity. James, always appreciate your perspective. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Boyd.
Great perspective there from James Chernowski. This is one more thing that Congress has got to get done in the next 4 days. You'll see these competing bills on the floor of the House tomorrow. That's really rare, by the way. They call it the Queen Bee approach, and whichever of these bills gets the most support will be advanced and sent over to the Senate side for consideration as well. And so if you're just joining us over the last 45 minutes, we've been really doing a deep dive past all the headlines of what Congress needs to get done and why before the end of this year, from Ukraine and Israel funding to border security to national defense authorization and this important FISA program, which is an important national security issue. We do need to be able to know what people are doing that may be threatening our national security. At the same time, we have to respect the rights of United States citizens. And if we're going to wiretap, if we're going to spy on them, you got to have a warrant. You got to go through the right process. So those are all important things that we're going to continue to watch here on Inside Sources over the next couple of days. And hopefully what you heard so far today gives you some good perspective in terms of what this week will look like in our nation's capital. All right, we're going to go ahead and step aside for a quick break. When we come back, it is Hanukkah. My conversation with Rabbi Avremi Zippel coming up next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Stream BYU basketball.
Richie gets into the paint. Floater, yes!
Hear that breaking story with a flick of your wrist.
Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy resigning rather suddenly.
Get instant alerts on Utah news and weather. It's so easy. Get in your phone's app store and download the mobile app for KSL News Radio.
You know, anybody can tell you that you're special. It's what they do that actually is the proof in the pudding. And Hercules Credit Union puts their words into actions. And let them show you how. They're going to treat you extra special with a limited time option. You can open a new checking account at Hercules Credit Union, and they'll upgrade you to a premier status checking account free of any monthly fees. You also get $150 cash when you open a premier checking account with direct deposit and Visa debit card, and $100 or more will be into your account when you open any type of loan product with a Visa credit card within the first 30 days. So all of these are just special ways that Hercules Credit Union is going to show you that you actually are special. All of the benefits that go with being a premier status checking account holder. You can check out their locations, as always, in Taylorsville, Harriman, Riverton, or Salt Lake City, or just visit them online, HerculesCU.com. That's HerculesCU.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article, or sensitive personal information about your family. Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff, so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Still don't have the perfect holiday gift? At Shane Company, we have the largest selection of last-minute gifts in every price range. Gorgeous gold chains, diamond stud earrings, that special pendant they'll wear every day, and more. As your friend in the jewelry business, we offer our customers high-quality jewelry, the best warranty in the industry, and exceptional customer service. 'Tis the season to shine. Shane Company, fine jewelry since 1929.
Guys, your promise is your word, right? You stick by it, you live by it. So does Revive Men's Health with our Revive Promise for low T and ED. The Revive Promise means your tests and lab work are free when you begin treatment, and our low T and ED treatments are money back guaranteed. Yes, that's right. We stand behind our treatments and our results. That's our promise to you. Revive Men's Health has successfully helped thousands of men with low T, ED, and sexual health issues since 2011. If you're experiencing symptoms like chronic low energy, less drive, sleep issues, weight gain, poor performance, bad moods, or ED, you need Revive. Don't settle. Get affordable, guaranteed custom low T and ED solutions with lasting results from Salt Lake City's favorite men's clinic. And remember, there are no extra bills when you begin treatment. All labs and tests are free, and your low T and ED treatments are money-back guaranteed. Call Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City today to schedule your appointment. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Intermountain Medical Center in Murray, LDS Hospital in Salt Lake City, and Utah Valley Hospital in Provo are ranked among the 2023 list for best cancer hospitals in the nation by Newsweek magazine, with a high level of comprehensive personalized care and treatment they provide. Intermountain Cancer Center locations provide an integrated, personalized approach to cancer treatment care, close to home for patients throughout the Intermountain West, as well as telehealth services. Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Rocky Mountain spotted fever is making a comeback. Second, kids at one elementary school in Salt Lake collected cereal for kids at another school. And third, UPS has avoided a driver's strike in Kentucky just before Christmas. Right now, 43 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson as we round out hour number 1. Of course, the evening of December 7th marked the beginning of the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. Hanukkah, of course, an 8-day celebration and commemoration of the victory of the Jewish people millennia ago against the occupation of Jerusalem by the Greeks, and each day marked by the ritual lighting of the menorah candles. Yesterday, I had the opportunity on Sunday edition on KSL TV to speak with our favorite rabbi, Rabbi Avremi Zippel, from here in Salt Lake City. We always call him Utah's homegrown rabbi. And as we had our conversation for Sunday edition on KSL 5 TV, I asked Rabbi Zippel how we need to change the conversation around anti-Semitism. Particularly its rise on college campuses. There's been a lot of focus on that over the last several weeks, from October 7th, when the atrocities committed by Hamas in their incursion into Israel, to what's been happening on college campuses here in the United States and around the world. There's a conversation that needs to be had. Here's what Rabbi Zippel had to say.
I do think that it starts with education. One of the very undervalued ideas of Hanukkah is that the Hebrew word Hanukkah is etymologically related to the Hebrew word for chinuch, for education. I think it's important that we make sure that good and accurate information is getting out there. I think most importantly, it's vital that we in the Jewish community not be intimidated by the darkness. I think that Hanukkah reminds us more than anything of the fact that we have not been strangers to this idea of world powers standing against us and not having our back. One of the things that I reflect on every year at Hanukkah is that Hanukkah celebrates a victory 2,200 years ago over the Greek Empire. And I don't know if you've heard of the Greek Empire recently. I don't know if you've perceived them as some sort of global threat, but the Greek Empire in their time, 2,200 years ago, stood against the Jewish people. And now I hear Greece is a lovely place to visit and they've got really good beaches, but they're not a global empire anymore, and the Jewish people are still here. And we believe that attitude and that commitment to our future will continue to sustain us.
I love the fact that the Rabbi Zippel made that connection, connecting the dots in terms of Hanukkah and light and education, that if we're really going to change the conversation surrounding anti-Semitism, Hanukkah is actually a good model for that, because it is about light. It is about standing up against the darkness. It is about educating others in the light, not in the darkness. I think that's important for all of us to think about. Rabbi Zippel also talked about how the Jewish community here in Utah, as well as around the world, is standing up to the darkness in the wake of October 7th and the terrorist attack on Israel.
I think since October 7th, the idea that we've tapped into more than anything has been this sentiment of prepared but not afraid. Something very seminal to Jewish thought. The Talmud expresses itself by saying, how does a Jewish farmer go about planting his crops? And the Talmud says he believes in the source of all life, and then he sows seeds. The idea being that for a Jew, our connection to spirituality, to God, being the source of all that we have, is something which we're always mindful of. And yet we also have to plant. We also have to sow seeds and try to grow our crops. And so our attitude has been prepared, enhancing security measures, taking precautions, being wise about things, but never afraid, never cowering in the face of anti-Semitism or bigotry or hatred, and in fact only adding and increasing in life.
Prepared but unafraid, I think, is important. This is not a time for anyone of any faith or of no faith to cower in the corner. It is a time to stand in the light and to shine the light into the darkness, and whether that's anti-Semitism or hate of any kind. I think Rabbi Zippel captured that in a powerful way. Rabbi Zippel also talked about the principles that we need to remember, both as the Jewish community celebrates Hanukkah. He spoke eloquently on the need for each one of us to do our part, no matter how big or how small, and then let the miracles unfold.
More than anything, what we can do is we can be ready to be a listening ear for those that, for them, we're celebrating Hanukkah, the winter holidays are around the corner. It's a time where people want to feel connection. They want to feel close to their family, to their loved ones, to their communities. And I think more than anything, what we can aim to be is a source of comfort, a friend, a loved one to so many. I know those in the Jewish community here in Salt Lake City are suffering from a real strain of loneliness that so many who had been their friends and their advocates and their neighbors over the years have really sadly turned on them and deserted them since everything that's happened post-October 7th. And so I would encourage every good person out there to want to be a friend, to want to be a listening ear and a supportive neighbor and loved one to those around them, and be the sort of person that you would want someone to be for you in your time of need.
Rabbi and Zippel and I stayed with the conversation in terms of what it is that each of us can do, what one person can do, what one act of kindness can do, the impact one person can have on an individual, on a community, a neighborhood, or even a nation, especially as we look at the face of global powers and global conflicts. The real issue to avoid hopelessness and the darkness is for one person to do one thing.
I think, to your point, in living in a time of global conflict and living in a time of such intense public feuding and there being such space between so many people, there can definitely be that sentiment of what am I able to accomplish in my small space of life? And I think it's that belief that we celebrate and we renew our faith in every Hanukkah, that no one's expected to do all of it on their own. And in fact, that ultimately becomes God's role to make the big change. It's our job to do our small part, bring light to our small corner. And hey, maybe you'll only have enough for just a few hours, for just one day. Let's see how the miracles unfold from that moment forward.
See how the miracles unfold. I love that perspective. I asked Rabbi Zippel about one of my favorite aspects of the Hanukkah celebration, which is the focus on the children and the light that they see around them and the light that children actually bring to the world.
One of the most powerful moments that I love on Hanukkah is, there's a lot of candles, a lot of fire safety at home. In our home, we light, every one of us lights a menorah, and so as the menorah gets fuller and fuller, there's a lot of fire on the table. And to me, one of the most beautiful things that exist in the world across the spectrum of humanity is watch a child's face when you strike a match. And you watch a child's face kind of process that moment of magic. And there's that sound, and all of a sudden there's light, and there's warmth, and there's life. And I think that childish, insight into how light comes into a space is something which we can all strive to emulate, to love light, to be impressed by light, to be intrigued by light, and to try to understand how we can bring more and more of it into our life. And so my wish this Hanukkah is that we all be more childlike in that sense and be amazed and intrigued by the power of light.
Such an important aspect to that. And finally, I asked Rabbi Zippel to give us one last thought as we plow through this Hanukkah season and the significance that it has this year. Here's what he said.
I think that this Hanukkah season, what I'm reminded of is the collective determination to always make sure that good triumphs over evil. I think about the Maccabees, who had every reason to throw in the towel and to think to themselves, look, no one's on our side. We're fighting the most powerful army in the world, and I think we're just going to succumb. And there was that inability to allow evil to triumph over good. I think it's something which we celebrate every Hanukkah, and for me personally this year it rings truer than ever, that each and every one of us have an obligation and a determination to make sure that good always triumph over evil when the odds are stacked against us, when we might seem outnumbered and outmaneuvered and out anything. We always make sure that good triumph over evil.
Great perspective from Rabbi Zippel. Always grateful for his perspective. And it is true, throughout history, most of the most extraordinary moments in history are those when the outcome seemed not just questionable, but impossible. And the impossible moves to improbable, probable, and then it becomes unstoppable. But it all begins with someone being willing to stand in the face of evil, someone to be able to take a step into the darkness, and someone being willing to step forward and say, we can do it different and we can do it better. And that's up to all of us. Now, you can hear my whole conversation with Rabbi Zippel at KSL 5 TV, Sunday edition. Always grateful to Rabbi Zippel for joining us. And we'll actually come back to this later on in the program, coming up at 2:50. We'll come back to the light kindlers and the role that we all have in that. That wraps up hour number 1 of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We'll step aside for some top-of-the-hour news, but don't go anywhere. We're going to think again about debates and a better way to have a better conversation about the future of the nation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, patients of the birth center in Salt Lake are scrambling after the practice suddenly shut down. Owner and provider at Wasatch Midwifery and Wellness, Adrian Brown, says they've been getting panicked women coming to them for help.
They were told at 40 weeks plus, which was very disconcerting to them, that they didn't have a provider.
The birth center hasn't responded to our request for comment. After a garage fire in Eagle Mountain last night, Unified Fire Authority says most of us have fire hazards in our garages. Firefighter EMT Benjamin Porter says we have to be mindful of how we store batteries, chargers, gasoline, even paint thinner.
When you think about our garages, they are generally dangerous. There's a lot of stuff in there that will burn. It will burn fast. It will burn hot.
Porter says we need fire doors when the garage is connected to the house. Fire doors stopped the garage fire in Eagle Mountain from spreading into the home yesterday. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A well-known Russian dissident has vanished from the prison where he's been held for years. ABC's Andy Field has reaction from the Biden administration.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says that no one outside the Russian government seems to know what happened to Alexei Navalny, one of Vladimir Putin's fiercest jailed critics.
Neither his representatives or his family know where he is.
Kirby saying Navalny and a number of Americans jailed by Russia are political prisoners and should be released. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 156 points right now. The NASDAQ is up 28. And our KSL weather, looks like we're not going to have to suffer with an inversion this week. We'll have that next. KSL News Time 2:02.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here for my good friends at Advanced Window Products. Jake Weber and Nate Orchard are spreading the holiday cheer with their biggest sale of the year. If the wind whistles through your windows, if you want a fresh new look for your number one investment, your home, call Advanced Window Products and take advantage of this incredible end-of-year sale. Replace all of your windows and frames, and you get $2,500 off. But that's not all. You get a free premium glass upgrade. Insulate your home against the cold with double-pane windows and stylish frames, any style, any color, and they're built custom right here at their headquarters in Salt Lake City for 37 years. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. Plus, an additional $2,500 off and a free premium glass upgrade. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage. Call now, Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Hey, this is Travis Kelce, NFL tight end and proud member of the Lowe's home team. Lowe's knows when you've got the best price, you've already won. That's why we offer the lowest price guarantee. If you find a better price online or in-store, we'll match it. Now you can score on the top brands from the Lowe's home team picks, like Scotts, LG, and DeWalt. So take on your projects with confidence. Lowe's is the exclusive home improvement retail partner of the NFL.
Price match applies to same item, current price of qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
Nothing slows my little girl down, except a stuffy nose. Mommy. That's why I use Sinex Children's Saline from Vicks. Sinex instantly clears mucus in everyday stuffy little noses with a gentle, ultra-fine mist designed for kids. Just Sinex? Breathe. Her stuffy nose is gone for now. And so is she.
Sinex Children's Saline. Sinex, breathe. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
I've worked hard to get where I am. I don't cut corners. I see opportunity and make the most of it. And I'm celebrating that success in style by heading to Jerry Seiner Cadillac to get the car I've been working for. They have new XT4, 5, and 6 models in stock and the area's largest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles. I've put in the work and I've earned the luxury that only comes with a Cadillac. If you have too, then it's time to visit Jerry Seiner and experience the Seiner difference.
Gifts they'll cherish, value, love, and pass down. They're at J. Brooks Jewelers. Online at jbrooksjewelers.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
Freeway traffic rolling along and looking good. Our main secondaries also seeing a good drive-in progress. No accidents to report at this time. Fed Up Kitchen is Utah's premier healthy meal prep service. Save time, money, and get results with our delicious meals made fresh daily. Right now, save 20% on your first order. Use promo code KSL at fedupkitchen.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, this low-pressure system that's off the west coast will help us to avoid inversions over the next few days. Even though we're not expecting rain or snow, weather should be dry through the next week. Highs in the 40s, and right now we're at 43 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, the most recent Republican primary debate for the presidential candidates highlighted some of the worst tendencies in our political discourse that are unfortunately becoming the norm because we reward bad behavior. So while bad candidates' behavior may encourage many voters to tune out, we want to get past the headlines of all of that, and I want to start looking at a roadmap for how we change the dynamic of debates, not just for presidential candidates, but for all candidates at all levels, and produce the kind of conversation the country actually needs. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, sadly, what used to be a great part of the American tradition, debates, has unraveled and unwound and plummeted to the depths of social media narcissism. It is performative politics at its worst. And we have seen it on the left and the right and everywhere in between. During the most recent debate, which was held last week, hosted by News Nation, candidate Vivek Ramaswamy began attacking Nikki Haley over her stance on aid to Ukraine and foreign policy. Nikki Haley took shots from all sides during the debate, as she's been kind of the rising candidate into second place in a lot of the polls. However, the line of attack was so bad, was so full of red meat, vitriolic rhetoric, that another candidate on the stage, Chris Christie, felt the need to move in.
He has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence. If you want to disagree on issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years. What we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman. You should stop insulting her.
I thought that was actually a great moment by Chris Christie. on a debate stage, and he just had it. He said, look, disagree on the policy, debate the merits of the issue, but these personal, petty attacks by candidates is just beyond the pale, and it prevents us from having the real conversation. And so we've got to change the game, and what I want you to think again about today is debates, what they could be. So let's kind of get to the commanding heights of imagination today and see what they could be again. I recently had a conversation with Ben Voth, who's a professor of rhetoric at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. We talked about how we can, as a country, restore a better way to debate. So one of the key points that we talked about was to actually limit the time for the moderator questions and increase the time for candidates' answers.
We've gone pretty rapidly from about the 2000 debates to the 2020 debates to where Chris Wallace is occupying 25% of the 90-minute interval of speaking. That really is largely unnecessary, and it's setting up some very significant rhetorical and communication problems.
So what we were talking about was the fact that the moderators take so long now to set up a question and then ask a very pointed question, usually in a gotcha form or in a way to create controversy form, and then the candidate has 60 seconds or 90 seconds maximum to respond, and then everyone complains that we don't get to any substance in the debate. Well, if the moderator's occupying 25% of the debate, something's wrong. So we got to fix the moderator component to all of this. And I actually believe the longer a candidate has to speak, and not firing shots at the other people on the stage, but the longer they have to talk about what they think, what they believe, what they propose, what their vision is, the more illuminating those debates will actually be. So one of the ideas that we talked about to maximize the candidate time to speak on their positions was to eliminate the questions altogether and simply give the candidates a topic to speak on.
Instead of giving a long speech by the journalist or whoever's doing the moderating, if they just said immigration, one word, go, all that time that went into setting up the question, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, could be given to the candidates so that they could give like a 3-minute answer to the question of immigration. The public is watching because they want to compare the positions of the candidates as they are in that time, in that context. So it'd be better to shorten the moderator question and let that time to give them to the candidate.
And I would even take it one step further. Just give them a word and then give them 3 or 4 minutes. No reference to any other candidate, no talking about the opposition party. Just talk about what is your position, your belief, your principles, your policy when it comes to this issue. So imagine a debate stage where you have the candidates there and the moderator says, healthcare. You have 4 minutes. And candidate number 1 goes, and then candidate number 2, and candidate number 3. And you don't have any of this crosstalk. You don't have any shouting matches. You don't have any pejoratives being thrown back and forth. I always go back to the initial Kennedy and Lincoln debate, not Kennedy and Lincoln, Kennedy and Nixon debates. That would be interesting. Kennedy and Nixon, where there was actually only one podium. There was only one podium. And the two candidates, Kennedy and Nixon, sat in chairs. The question would be asked, and then one of them would go to the podium and give an answer, and then they would sit back down, and then the other candidate would get up and give their answer and then sit back down. And if there was a rebuttal, they would have a chance to do that. But it was very polite and very focused on substance. And it was very different. And I always point out the fact that the opening statements in that presidential debate were 8 minutes long. 8 minutes. So they couldn't just do the talking points. You actually have to get to the substance. Now, I know we've had here in the state of Utah a former governor who used to ask candidates who were being interviewed for a judge role or a justice role. And rather than asking all of the long-winded questions, they would just give them a word. Regulation. Federalism. And you just throw the words out and see how people respond. Guns. What's the response? because that's when you learn how a person thinks, how they process information, how they form their ideas and opinions, and how they present them, which I believe is what we should be looking for in candidates, whether it's for governor or whether it's for a justice or whether it's for president of the United States. And so I think we have to really come out and say, if we're going to have these debates, let's do it different. There is no reason there is a reason why the American people have tuned out mostly on debates, because it's a train wreck. It's painful to watch. Regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, it's painful, and it's rarely productive. There's a gotcha moment. Someone will get an cute quip or a funny one-liner, but you're not understanding how this person thinks or what their core values really are or how they would lead or what their vision is. And so we just keep rewarding bad behavior. And so let's do it different. And so we have to reimagine what a debate could be. I wouldn't even mind to bring the candidates on stage one at a time and give them one word and see what they do with it. Gun control, health care, border security, immigration. You have 4 minutes. And just let them go, because that will be more instructive. That will give us more insight in terms of the qualifications and the vision and direction and how that person would lead the nation than any of the stuff we've seen over the last several presidential election cycles. The debate system is broken. It is broken badly. It is playing into the kind of performative politics that is dividing the country. And so it's time to have big debates, big ideas, not sound bites, not memorized quips and quotes, but real issues, real substance. And part of the way we do that is to get the moderator out of the way, put the issues straightforward on the table, and give them time to actually talk about it. Not talk about anyone else, not talk about anything else, but talk about that issue, because that will demonstrate how fit they actually are to lead. All right, that's an important think again moment for us today, is we've got to rethink what debates look like and sound like and are like in this country if we want to have better governance, which is what this is about. Sadly, what we're producing is better politicians, people who are better at the political game, the attention game, the social media game. But that's not what we elect people to do. We elect them to govern. So let's have a system and a process that shows us and demonstrates to voters how good that person could actually be at the job, which is governing.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
Every year I tell myself, Doug, you can't procrastinate. It's time to get into Burt Brothers. Make sure that the vehicle I drive, the vehicles that Dee drives, and our family vehicles are all ready for winter. And Burt Brothers, boy, as these temperatures start to drop, soon the snowflakes are going to fall, the roads are going to be slick. You need peace of mind on Utah's snowy roads. Winter tires from Burt Brothers, they make all the difference. You can drive with confidence. Specialized tires designed to grip the road in the harshest conditions. They give you better traction, handling, shorter braking distances, and the gift of safety for you and your loved ones. And right now, save up to $130 back on 4 Bridgestone Blizzak tires through December 16th. That's only at Burt Brothers with complete auto care. They can take care of it all. Make sure you're not off on the side of the road with a little help from your friends at Burt Brothers. And there's a location for Burt Brothers near you.
Guys, your promise is your word, right? You stick by it, you live by it. So does Revive Men's Health with our Revive Promise for low T and ED. The Revive Promise means your tests and lab work are free when you begin treatment, and our low T and ED treatments are money-back guaranteed. Yes, that's right. We stand behind our treatments and our results. That's our promise to you. Revive Men's Health has successfully helped thousands of men with low T, ED, and sexual health issues since 2011. If you're experiencing symptoms like chronic low energy, less drive, sleep issues, weight gain, poor performance, bad moods, or ED, you need Revive. Don't settle. Get affordable, guaranteed custom low T and ED solutions with lasting results from Salt Lake City's favorite men's clinic. And remember, there are no extra bills when you begin treatment. All labs and tests are free, and your low T and ED treatments are money-back guaranteed. Call Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City today to schedule your appointment. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
It's not too late to save big on your holiday carpet cleanings. The Zero Res Holiday Sale ends Tuesday. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and pay just $25 per room. That's right, the $25 deal is back just in time for your holiday cleaning. Zero Res is the only no-residue carpet cleaner in the area. With their ZR water, there's no soaps, no shampoos, and with no residue left behind, your carpets stay cleaner longer. Plus, with a no-residue cleaning, you don't have to worry about any nasty chemicals left behind either. For carpets, ducts, tile, furniture, and more, Zero Res is the right way to clean. And if you've been waiting to get cleaned up for the holidays, this is the sale you've been waiting for. $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Sale ends Tuesday. Must schedule Monday or Tuesday, and you must clean before the new year. You don't have to clean today, but you do have to get on the schedule. Call Zero Res right now or jump online to schedule. $25 per room. Minimums apply. Zero Res, from Nephi to Ogden and everywhere in between. Online at ZeroRes.com.
Let's get together for Christmas. Let's take our time and make new memories.
From everyone at Shields, we hope you enjoy the gift of family and friends this holiday season. It's a special time to get together with those you love to make new memories. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from all of us at Shields.
Gang together, let's get together this year.
Mr. Mac's Buy One, Get One sale. Buy one suit for $299. Get the second for $100. Any style, any occasion. Free alterations in 9 locations. Mr. Mac.
Get deeper insights on the news from inside sources.
We are just a few weeks away from 2024 and 35 days away from the Iowa caucuses. That's when the presidential races will really begin to heat up and take shape, actually. But as we enter the presidential primary season, it's important to remember that the race doesn't end after Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. In fact, that's just the end of the beginning. And often we forget that. And I think in today's climate in particular, where we have, I think, both President Biden and former President Trump who would love to convince the world that it is all over after those 3 states. But I would remind everyone that's like ending a football game after the first 5.5 minutes. And someone who's done a deep dive on that, Niall Stanage, of course, White House columnist for The Hill, political contributor for News Nation, had a great piece on the 5 times when presidential primaries were really upended in unexpected ways. And Niall, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Boyd. Good to be here.
So let's go through some of these because, again, I think everyone wants these things to be all wrapped up after Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. You gave some great examples when that was sort of the not so fast, my friend, category that things actually shifted and changed. Let's start with the first one. Oop, did we lose Niall? Oop, you there, Niall?
Yeah,
Boyd,
sorry.
sorry.
You dropped out there for some time, but now you're back.
Okay. Let's start with 2000. Let's start with 2004 and Howard Dean. Many people thought he had the momentum and he was on his way.
They did, indeed. He was the big favorite going into the Iowa caucuses that year. He had really seized upon anti-Iraq war sentiment among the Democratic Party at that stage. It was, of course, the first general election since the terrorist attacks of 9/11 and then the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, for that matter. So Howard Dean was expected to do very well in Iowa, perhaps win there. It didn't pan out that way at all. He basically got into a big fight in the lead up to those caucuses with Dick Gephardt, who at the time was the former House Minority Leader. The back and forth between those two turned Iowans off, and John Kerry as we may remember, came up the middle, won Iowa, and never really looked back from there. He became the front runner almost instantly. This was, of course, the same night as the Dean Scream, which goes down in political infamy as not a great moment.
Not a great moment, yeah. Suboptimal, I think, is what they call that one. I want to go to
yes.
I want to go to 2008 because that is one where it was the inevitable coronation of Hillary Clinton on the Democratic side. And a pesky little senator from Illinois had other plans.
Yes, pretty much so. As I said in the piece, it is easy sometimes now to underestimate or understate just how much of a long shot then Senator Barack Obama was when he began contesting the 2008 Democratic nomination. Hillary Clinton was widely expected to win that nomination. She was at the time a sitting senator from New York, obviously a former First Lady, enormous institutional support. And she went to Iowa. Obama was always stronger in Iowa than nationwide. And I think that is an important point because it reflects the fact that it's often the early state polls that matter more than national polls at this stage. Obama beat her in Iowa. John Edwards put her into third place in Iowa. And although Hillary Clinton came back and won the New Hampshire primary a short time later, it was really, the loss in Iowa was a devastating blow to her campaign. She never clearly recovered the sense of inevitability that she had up until that point.
Yeah, that's right. You mentioned in the piece that in December of 2007, she was ahead nationally by about 20 points. And I also thought it was interesting that then Senator Barack Obama didn't cinch the nomination until June the 4th of 2008. And so here we are talking about January cinching things up in 2024. President Obama can look back and say, be careful. This thing can drag out, and maybe it should. I think it made President Obama a better candidate going into the general. I think it made him a better president because he had to fight all the way till June.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think that a protracted primary like that does give voters an enormous amount of time to really size up candidates and to also check anything that might be in candidates' metaphorical closets. You'll remember that race when Obama was leading, there was the whole matter of Jeremiah Wright, the pastor in Chicago, and Obama had to get through that controversy. And so those long primaries give voters a chance to scrutinize candidates, but also, to your point, Boyd, make candidates sharper, I think, make them better at defending their own positions, make them better at articulating their positions. And that was certainly a particularly epic primary fight stretching on so long.
Yeah, and then let's go to 2012, where there were a number of ebbs and flows to the campaign, including Rick Santorum giving Mitt Romney another scare and a run for his money.
Yeah.
Did we lose him? I think we just lost Niall. Okay. All right. We're going to get Niall back there, and I'll just do a little tee up there as we get him back on the line. In Iowa, it was Rick Santorum. If you look at the December polls going into that year, Newt Gingrich was leading the Republican race by double digits nationally. So again, so this is late 2011. Newt Gingrich way ahead, double-digit lead, and then you have this upending of things in Iowa, and then everything starts to change. And it was Rick Santorum who really got it. All right, I think we got Niall back there, and Niall, we gave a quick snapshot of 2012 there. But before we get to the bottom of the hour, I want to get to a more recent memory, which again I think people forget really quickly in terms of 2020 and where now President Biden was after Iowa and New Hampshire.
Yes, that's about the interruption. In early stages of that primary, President Biden campaigned very heavily in both Iowa and New Hampshire. Came fourth in Iowa, fifth in New Hampshire. There were political obituaries being written. It looked as if Bernie Sanders might pretty well become the Democratic nominee. And all of that caused a little bit of a snap back on the part of some Democratic voters. One important factor was that the next major primary was South Carolina, and that was the first primary with a significant number of black voters in the primary election. Black voters had the particularly supportive of then Biden. So he won a very big victory there.
Oh, we've lost Niall again, but I'll just round that out. And again, important historic memory for everybody. President Biden lost Iowa, was buried in Iowa, buried in New Hampshire, and many people were calling on him to get out of the race. But then he went to South Carolina. He got a crucial endorsement. He won South Carolina, and the rest is political history. And so the thing I want everyone to remember as we get through the holidays, as we get into January, and I'm just going to say this again, I think that both President Biden and former President Trump would love for all of us to believe that everything should be over after those first 3 states, because that is to their benefit. President Biden knows that his best path to victory and re-election and 4 more years in the White House is through former President Trump. President Trump knows that his path back to the White House and 4 more years is through President Biden and cinching up the nomination early on. And that doesn't have to be the case. It shouldn't be the case. I'm just going to remind everyone, to be the nominee on the Republican side, we'll start there. To be the nomination for the Republicans, you have to have 1,235 delegate votes to get the nomination. If you take the combined total of Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, the total delegates at stake in those states is 112. Less than 10% of what you need to be the nominee. And so if you want to say, well, everyone should just get out after South Carolina, it is literally like saying 5.5 minutes in to a 60-minute football game to just declare the winner and end the game. That's not how it's supposed to be. And all of these examples that Niall gave us today, in terms of 5 times when the early primaries got it wrong or that things got upended by things that happen along the way, that's good. That's how you learn about a candidate. That's how you see how they can lead, how they deal with difficulty and things that are a real struggle and a slog, because that's what we want. So nobody should believe that this all has to be done in January. There's actually a long path to the presidency. I think it's designed to be that way on purpose so we can test a little bit better, but it's up to us, the voters, to make sure the test is real, that it's not a coronation by political parties. We'll be right back.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Experts say Utahns should have a positive outlook for our financial future. The chief economist for the Salt Lake Chamber, Natalie Gochner, says Utahns outperform most states for business and unemployment.
We had inflation as high as 9% in summer of 2022. It stands at 3.2% today. So we're on a positive track, and I think consumers should feel better than the indicators show.
Gochner says the wars in Russia and Gaza probably make people feel uneasy, but she says wages have been going up faster than inflation. People in Eureka are worried about their water. Over the weekend, they started to notice the water coming out of the tap was bubbly and looked milky. The city says the water is safe to drink, likely looks bubbly because of a leak in the system. They say running the water, though, won't fix it. Residents should just let it sit until the bubbles dissolve. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Global health organizations working in Gaza are calling for an immediate ceasefire, or what they call a dire humanitarian situation. ABC's Ines de la Cuetara is in Tel Aviv.
The World Health Organization saying today that the healthcare system is on its knees and collapsing. We know over 18,000 people have now been killed, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, and 1.8 million people displaced. That's roughly 80% of the population. Lots of concerns for children there.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 157 points right now. Actually closing trading today at that level, and the NASDAQ closing up 28 points, and the S&P 500 up 18 points right now. And our KSL weather. looks like we're going to avoid getting an inversion over the valleys. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-330-2929. That's 800-330-2929. 800-330-2929.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. Over the years, I've talked a lot about hard water. Takes years off the life of water heaters and other appliances in your home. Leaves scum on the shower walls, and you almost need a jackhammer to remove that. I've talked about how Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer, their water softeners are maintenance-free. You just don't need adjustment, and they do the job with 2/3 less salt than other softeners. But today, I want to talk about the exhilarating feeling of stepping into a hot bath or shower and feeling that pure, soft water cascade over your skin. It feels like every pore in your body wants to stand up and start singing. And afterward, there are no itchy hard water deposits sticking all over you. You really should look into a soft water system from Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. You can learn more about Connecticut by giving them a call at 801-576-8600 or log on to Softwater Utah. Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. Then sit back and enjoy your shower even more.
Have you ever heard that adage that losing weight takes a long time? That's not necessarily true. 2 years ago, I started my SOTA weight loss journey. I noticed results within the first week. And the second week, I had lost even more weight. 3 quick months later, and I was down 34 pounds and hit my weight loss goal. My story is not unique for SOTA weight loss. Let's hear from Aaron.
Come in and try it, and if it's not working for you, I'd be shocked. The motivation really comes after the first week and you see the first set of numbers dropping off. It's a great way to get things going, to start turning things in the right direction again.
The average weight loss for a male is 3 to 5 pounds per week, and the average female will lose 2 to 3 pounds per week. How much weight can you lose? Call SOTA Weight Loss or visit SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA stands for state of the art. And find out how quickly you can reach your ideal weight with SOTA Weight Loss. It is state of the art. Call SOTA Weight Loss today and see what you can accomplish with your nutritionist. Or visit SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA, S-O-T-A. It's state of the art.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
Valley Freeway traffic still in really good shape, but emergency crews are responding to an auto pedestrian crash with possible injuries 9th East at 300 South. Fed Up Kitchen is Utah's premier healthy meal prep service. Save time, money, and get results with our delicious meals made fresh daily. Right now, save 20% on your first order. Use promo code KSL at fedupkitchen.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Our KSL weather, a low pressure system, will help avoid inversions over the next few days. Even though we're not expecting rain or snow, weather should be dry through the next week with highs in the 40s. And right now, partly cloudy, 43 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson. On Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Elder Quentin L. Cook, a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, made a trip to London, England last week to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. He was also there to express appreciation for Great Britain's history of leading out on religious freedom protections. He spoke at Parliament and in one of London's historic city churches. And we want to get a deeper dive into that. Elder Cook has been an advocate of religious freedom throughout his life, and especially during his time as an apostle in the Church of Jesus Christ, and has a unique perspective on so many of these things. He really gave landmark addresses both to Parliament and then also at London's historic City Church that we'll get to in just a moment. As he talked about why this matters and what it means to governments, he talked about the fact that governments need to change their mindset when it comes to religious freedom.
I think that there are things that governments can do. I find that when they think about a multiplicity of religions really blessing their country, then they're more free in trying to make sure that everybody, regardless of their faith, whether it's Christian or it's not, or if it's none, that they can follow the dictates of their own conscience. And once they get that in their heads, then that gives them an impulse to protect religion, to further it, and to bless people, all people, not just religious people, not just people of faith, everyone.
Making sure that religion and religious organizations have the opportunity to bless all citizens in faith, out of faith, but in the community is the real power and why it's so important to protect those particular rights. It was interesting in his address commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Elder Cook said that in 1948, the then 58 member states of the United Nations, under the guidance of Eleanor Roosevelt, which I thought was very interesting, devised a list of essential human rights that everybody across the world should enjoy. Elder Cook continued that this is appropriate because on December the 10th, 1948, again 75 years ago, the General Assembly of the UN announced the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 30 rights and freedoms. They speak to and belong to all of us. Elder Cook said they are the basis for international human rights law. It was the first time that a universal global agreement put human rights, not power politics, at the forefront. And I love the way that Elder Cook describes that it was the first time that a universal global agreement put human rights, not power politics, at the forefront, at the beginning. He referenced in particular Articles 18 to 20 that address personal individual freedoms. Elder Cook said that Article 18 is of particular historical significance today. It reads, "Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others, and in public or private to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance." Elder Cook went on to describe in these two rich historic settings in Parliament and then at the Coptic Orthodox Church in London, these expressions. He talked about his own faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who, of course, had early persecution here in the United States, and how important it was to defend those for everyone. He quoted founding president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Joseph Smith, saying, "It is love of liberty which inspires my soul, civil and religious liberty, to the whole of the human race." Elder Cook went on to talk about his appreciation for all that had been done in Great Britain over the years in terms of defending religious freedom and that right of conscience. Interesting, he referenced the Magna Carta, the action by a group of barons in 1215. That's a long time ago. He said, "It encompassed in a treaty to end a civil war, contained clauses relating to religious liberty and how justice was to be dispensed that give Magna Carta its enduring fame." In approximately 1600, Sir Edward Coke produced the consolidation of the English law in written form. Coke interpreted Magna Carta as a confirmation of the principle of individual liberty existing in England from very early times. While other statutes could be legally repealed, Magna Carta was irrevocable because it was seen as preserving original liberties granted to the English people against the power of kings. And this is something that I have seen Elder Cook speak about in many places around the world. And he speaks in amazing tones as he talks about when he was in England in 1962 as a young missionary. He said he visited the ancient assembly site there where the Magna Carta was signed. He said it was one of the reasons that he pursued law as a profession. He thanked again the people of Great Britain that their ability to combine the historical impact of Magna Carta, English common law, the English Bill of Rights of 1689, the principles of individual liberty that had existed in England since early times. So the really interesting thing to me about what Elder Cook shared last week in London, in England, was this right that the acknowledgement of God, the creator of the universe, as the ultimate giver of essential rights, is proclaimed in the magnificent fashion and reflects the cherished beliefs of people across the world. Elder Cook continued, the concept that all men are created equal has made significant strides, but there is much yet to be accomplished. And he continued, freedom of religion and freedom of speech are both the heart and the foundation of a representative democracy. Freedom to believe in private and to assemble and exercise belief and speech in the public square are essential to protecting unalienable rights. Religion combines all of these essential freedoms and needs to be protected. I think that's such a significant thing, and it's a hallmark of Elder Cook and his understanding of the law and of the importance of those religious freedoms and those needs. He said, in addition, the attitude toward freedom of religion was changed in England. And that gave everyone an opportunity. And he concluded with something that I think is so significant. He says, religious freedom and accountability to God benefits individuals and countries. Accountability to God for our relationships with each other is a powerful force for good and strongly supports democracy. And I think that is still true today and an important factor for all of us. Elder Cook concluded that there's still much to be accomplished. He said, when it comes to religious freedom, we can never rest on our laurels. We are all aware of the heartbreaking conflicts that are occurring throughout the world. Some are between people who have different religious faiths. We pray for peace and resolution that will provide religious freedom for all. However, even when our highest and brightest ideals are challenged, it is not time to despair. Elder Cook concluded, in such times, we need to focus light on our ideals, and our aspirations need to be expressed. And I loved one of the other things that he shared at the Coptic Orthodox Church of London, which was something that he picked up from Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, who, of course, passed away a few years ago, came on this show shortly before he passed away. Rabbi Sacks talked about this erosion of religious liberty and freedom to express faith in the public square. And Rabbi Sacks blamed one of the culprits as an aggressive scientific atheism tone deaf to the music of faith. Elder Cook picked up on that theme from Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks and talked about that music of faith and how important it is in the public square. He talked about William Wilberforce, who is, of course, one of Elder Cook's heroes for his great stand for religious liberty and freedom. And he talked about others that were also important in that ongoing music of freedom that has made a difference for so many people all around the world, including Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and his work on American civil rights in the 1960s. But all of those were animated by the music of faith. And, of course, he talked about the many contributions of faith groups, including the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the many humanitarian efforts and the collaborative efforts that they have with organizations around the world to alleviate suffering, to lift those that are struggling from all faiths and from no faith. And that's an important part of that whole process of being a peacemaker and making a difference in the world. So again, a landmark set of speeches from Elder Quentin L. Cook of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who again was in London, England last week, spoke to Parliament, also spoke at a very historic Coptic church there in London with a very powerful and profound message that I think is both timely and timeless in terms of what we all need to do to recognize the difference that simple ability to have faith and to not just enjoy it in your own home or in your own church or synagogue, but the ability to take it out into community, into the public square, is the key to all of that. We've been talking about Hanukkah as we go through this week, and it is interesting that in ancient times the menorah was put not inside the house but outside the house, reminding those that it's taking your faith out into the public square that matters. That's where the difference can be made. And as Rabbi Avrami Zippel shared with us earlier, that we can take that light into the darkness. Some great perspective, and again, landmark addresses delivered by Elder Quentin L. Cook, a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from London last week. Important conversation. You should check that out as well. We'll step aside for one last break. More Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio.
The BYU Cougars are on a roll.
For three, right corner. That's good!
Wednesday, BYU plays Denver. Make sure you're streaming the nationally ranked Cougars on the KSL News Radio app. BYU, Denver. Pre-game Wednesday at 6 and tip-off at 7 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Well, as you close out the year, it's a great time to feel just a little bit special. A lot of people say you are special, but Hercules Credit Union actually shows that you're special. They have been about growing stronger together since 1946. They are your community place to go, and they will show you that you're special. Right now, when you open a new checking account with Hercules Credit Union, they're going to upgrade your checking account to Premier status, free of monthly fees. You get all the benefits that go with it in terms of identity theft protection, travel benefits, cellular care coverage, all kinds of perks, accidental damage, all kinds of bonuses and benefits there for being part of Hercules Credit Union. Really simple to do. Open up that account today, and they will upgrade it to Premier checking status, free of any monthly fees. You can always find them in their locations in Taylorsville, Harriman, Riverton, or Salt Lake City. Or as always with our friends at Hercules, you can find them online at HerculesCU.com.
A holiday message from Jackson Hewitt.
'Twas the yikes before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, except Larry. See, the stockings weren't hung by the chimney with care, 'cause Larry's wallet was empty with no time to spare. So he went to Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan, got money so fast he rejoiced and went home. Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Go to Jackson Hewitt before it's too late. Get up to $1,000 fast, minus the wait.
Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Hey, you. The one on the couch who just told your friend you can't go out because you're busy? Ready to get real about your psoriasis? When your current treatments don't do enough to help control the inflammation beneath the skin, causing plaques and pain, stressing and scratching, it's time to stop hiding and get real with your dermatologist so they can help you get clear. Get real clear about psoriasis at letsgetrealclear.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Introducing Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Maximize your energy savings with a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system from Yes, and you could save up to $4,500 through possible tax credits and other discounts. Purchase a new system today, and Yes will buy back your old inefficient HVAC system. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
At Common Spirit Holy Cross Hospitals, we're honored to carry the legacy of our namesake and to extend the legacy of care in our communities. We're part of 20 hospitals and 240 clinics across Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Learn more at holycrossutah.org.
With our roots in northern Utah, Common Spirit Holy Cross Hospitals have a legacy of caring to help every person be whole and healthy. We're part of 20 hospitals and 240 clinics across Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Learn more at holycrossutah.org.
Give the best gift a Jazz fan can get. Tickets to a Jazz game. Or treat yourself with our holiday ticket packs. Getting a pack not only gets you to a game. With every ticket purchase, you can get $15 in Jazz notes for in-arena concessions on merch at the team store. Plus, each ticket comes with a ticket to a Salt Lake City Stars game. Get your tickets now by calling or texting 801-355-DUNK. Or by visiting UtahJazz.com. Happy holidays from the Utah Jazz.
Home is your sanctuary, or is it?
If you're looking for spacious living and ample yard space, stop by an open house December 11th, 5 to 7 p.m. to preview Nielsen Homes' newest Diamond E family home, just north of Salt Lake, making commute time easy. And these homes are move-in ready and have spacious yards. See the Nielsen Homes difference with spacious family living floor plans and nice-sized yards. Take advantage of amazing end-of-the-year promotions, too. Nielsen Homes has been building homes across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years to accommodate things you need with things you love during their open house event December 11th. Enjoy warm churros and free pictures with Santa and see just how great low maintenance and spacious family living can be. That's 5 to 7 p.m. December 11th at Nielsen Homes Diamond E Community, 2630 North, 3200 West in Plain City. Visit Nielsen Homes Communities at nielsenhomes.com. NILSON homes.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today, as always. I am Boyd Matheson. As we round out the program today, we want to get to this whole idea of light. Thursday marked the beginning of Hanukkah with its focus on the miracle of candlelight lasting 8 days when darkness clearly should have prevailed. But more than a moment of physical illumination, the light of Hanukkah is centered and captured and contained in the soul of every woman and every man. I remember a couple of years ago, I was in New York and I listened to Rabbi Dr. Meir Soloveichik. He movingly pronounced that the soul of man is the candle of God. It was a powerful and enduring image for me. The human soul is kindled by the Creator. We've been talking about religious liberty and faith. But like a candle's frame, the soul's sanctity is easily extinguished when you have the winds of change, you have social pressure, persecution. All of those things can cause that spark to go out. I think that's powerful. I think that's illuminating imagery. And here's what I worry about. I worry that there are so many in our society, of every faith, of no faith, whose light is running a little low at the darkest moment in the darkest of winters. A lot of people have described where we are as a society. The last few years have been a dark winter. I love this quote by Albert Schweitzer. He pointed out that in everybody's life, at some time, our inner fire goes out. He said it then bursts into flame by an encounter with another human being. We should all be thankful for those people who rekindle that inner spirit. And that's what I want to focus on as we close out the show today, is those light kindlers in your life. We all have them. I have many who have kindled or rekindled my flame at some pretty tough moments. And those kind of souls, they come in the form of friends and family. Some are coaches or colleagues. They're leaders and they're heroes and heroines from history. The light kindlers are often disguised as ordinary citizens in my community. And I know you have these in your community and in your life. The light kindlers are also a lot of people that I've never met, just people from history, people whose words or actions have sparked that inner flame. And one of the things that I have learned from many of my Jewish friends is that a Jew cannot be content with merely spreading the light of Torah or mitzvahs in their own home. It's vital that the light kindling spread the light outside. It's outside. It's into the street. It's into the neighborhood, into the community, and especially into the hearts of other people. One religious leader observed it this way. He said, light and darkness cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Light dispels darkness. When light is present, darkness is vanquished and must depart. More important, darkness cannot conquer light unless the light is diminished or it departs. So light kindlers recognize that it isn't enough to just kindle the light in the current downtrodden or the discouraged. They understand that what the world really needs is light, and actually an army of light kindlers who are willing to take that light into the darkness. And we've talked about that on a lot of different fronts today. I love the fact that for the lighting of the 8 candles over the 8 days of Hanukkah, that there is that unique, special, and important 9th candle. the candle that's positioned in the center of the menorah. The 9th candle is called the shamash, or servant candle. And that candle is used to kindle the light of all the other candles. So the shamash, I think, is a fitting example of the kind of light kindler that struggling individuals and hurting communities need now more than ever before. Churchill once gave a tribute at the passing of one of his colleagues, and I love this imagery. Describing this colleague, Churchill said, "He lighted beacon fires, which are still burning. He sounded trumpet calls whose echoes still call stubborn soldiers to the field." And I think that light kindlers in the form of friends and neighbors and teachers and coaches and colleagues and community members, those are the kind of light kindlers who spark those beacon fires in the people around them. We mentioned earlier in the program Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, and the interview that I had with him a few years ago before his untimely passing. We were actually talking about cultural climate change, that it was divisive politics, inequitable economics, social and racial unrest, threats to free speech, and cancel culture that were all connected and causing this rise in heat. But he also talked about another kind of climate change, which was cold, catastrophic cold, the Arctic frost of isolation, of loneliness, despair that was freezing relationships. And then he talked about the solution to all of that, that we have to change the way we see each other, that when we stop seeing each other as transactions and start looking at relations, everything changes. And so that kind of light is exactly what the world needs, and the test and challenge for all of us, especially during this season of Hanukkah, is to be a light kindler. Something to think about. Well, that wraps it up for us here on Inside Sources today on KSL News Radio. I'm Boyd Matheson. Thanks for joining us today. And as always, as you go out into the world, make sure you see something that inspires, say something that uplifts, and do something today that makes a difference.